This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning and welcome. Our Shira about Pashas Naso and Shavuos in Yana de Yoima. I want to dedicate the Shira for this year is sponsored by Mr. Nissim Behar, the Ilui Nishmas, Benoah Bechor, Yerachmiel Meir Alav Hashalom, the Nissim Avram. The Mitzvah the family should only experience Simcha and Nachas, and Yerachmiel Meir should have a constant Aliyah after Aliyah in the Oilamos HaElyonim. Mitzvah Hashem. Also want to dedicate the Shir for the Atzlacha Ben Tzion Ben Dosa, and dear friend of my family, Ben Tzion Ben Rebbe Avraham Yosef Klein Le'ilui Nishmas 3 years ago. Today is his Yortzeit. The family should only know Simcha and Nachas. They should go from Simcha to Simcha and from Chayil to Chayil. So we have a jam-packed shir with a lot of different inyanim. Birkas Kohanim, the Soita's punishment and reward. How far do you have to go to stay up the whole night tonight? Loaded cheesecakes, wild riddles, David HaMelech, and more. So we start with Birkas Kohanim. The Kohanim wrap themselves with a talis in Birkas Kohanim. Why do you have to have a talis for Birkas Kohanim? Cover the hands, put gloves. Do some kind of a cloth. Why do you have to have a talis? Comes the Maharaz Binga. It's one of the Rishonim, a Talmid of the Maharil, and he brings in the name of the Rokeach. The Torah itself suggests that. The Pasuk says about tzitzis, ve'asu lahem tzitzis. Lahem. Lamed is 30, Hey is 5, Mem is 40, it's 75. 75 is a Kohen. So you see a Kohen has to wear the talis at Birkas Kohanim. It's Rishonim, Rabbi Yisrael. Ve'asu lahem tzitzis. Now something really wild, unknown, even though it appears in so many Sfarim, as we're going to say now, about Birkas Kohanim. The Pri Chadash in Orach Chaim Siman Kuf Kafres. Kuf Kafres is the halachos of Nesias Kapayim. The Pri Chadash brings there, and this is brought in the Bay Heitev as well, in Shulchan Aruch, Sif Kotten Memtes in Orach Chaim Siman Kuf Kafres. So the Pri Chadash brings that he found in Sefer HaMikzoos. Sefer HaMikzoos is from one of the Rishonim, it's Sefer Halacha. Based on the time of the Geonim, it was probably edited by Rabbeinu Hananel. It's Rishonim. So he brings what Rabbeinu Hananel himself writes in Sefer HaMikzoos. A Kohen is not allowed to go duchen if there is a Nida woman in his house. And a Kohen who did do Birkas Kohanim, if his mother, his wife, or daughter are a Nida, and he goes into a house where there's a Nida, his tefillah on Klal Yisrael is an abomination, and he causes his seed to be lost from the world. And he says, in these things, don't publicize them, because it's not me'ika adin. Leave Klal Yisrael alone. Hanachlen Yisrael. Let them be shoygigin, unintentional, and not mezidin by telling them this, because nobody's going to be careful about this. Pilei ploy. There's some sofer in Orach Chaim Chav Gimel writes, with all due respect, you just transgressed what you said. Don't publicize it. You just wrote it, and everybody knows it. You wrote it in Pri Chadash. Rabbeinu Hananel wrote it. Pri Chadash wrote it. The Bay Heitev wrote it, and the some sofer says, what the Sefer Miktzos writes, it's already brought in the Ravid. Chidush Ravid and Maseches Tamid and Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. So it's not such a secret. And the Sam Sofer says, if it wasn't for what the Ravid is saying, I would say the Teva has changed. This does not harm us anymore. And Kevan Shedashu Barabi, everybody does this. Mimele Shomer Psayim Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu watches over those who are fools in the matter, and no harm will come your way. And don't worry about it at all. And one who wants to be Machmir, Eino ela min hamatmim. He is a weirdo. You don't have to be machmir on this. This is something that nobody cares about. Pri Megadim, everybody discusses this. The Pri Megadim wonders, is this only when his wife is a nida, or any woman? His mother, his daughter, anybody in his household is a nida. He says, Lemaise, the world is not careful about this. Shaul Shuv's Beis Ephraim, Orach Chaim Siman Vav writes, that even though the Pri Chadash says, listen, you're not allowed to publicize this, I am forced to reveal to reveal a secret, legalot sod, and to publicize this. And he writes a big chiddush. You know, Ashkenazim, outside Eretz Yisrael don't do Birkas Kohanim every single day. Because of this! Lo yimalet, some of the Kohanim will have women who are anida in their home, and in matter they're not going to be careful, so that's why they canceled the whole Birkas Kohanim from Ashkenazim outside Eretz Yisrael. Gewaltig. Rabbi Akiva Eiger brings his agos on Shulchan Aruch and Siman Kuf Kaf Ches, and he talks about the Sefer HaMiktzos, and the Minchas Yitzchak says that it is implied from the words of Rabbi Akiva Eiger that he agrees. Or at least this is another reason why Ashkenazim don't say Birkas Kohanim outside the land. The Maharatz Chiyus in Megillah Yud Beis brings that this whole thing that the Pri Chodesh says is in the name of the Yerushalmi, but we don't have a Yerushalmi like that, Bichlal. And then many times this happens that Rishonim, Kadmoinim will quote a certain Maimar in Yerushalmi, and we don't have the Yerushalmi.
So why in Yom Tov do they do Birkas Kohanim Ashkenazim?
We'll get there in a second. The Machzik Bracha, the Chidah, he brings a Medesh Tanchuma that completely rejects and contradicts this Sefer HaMiktzos, and he says that Sefer HaMiktzos was talking about time of the Mikdash, not in our times. The Yeshel Avraham, the Buchacher, he says, what Rabbi Nuchanan was talking about is when you have somebody who's near in your house, that's when they had the purifying ashes of the red heifer. Then you can purify yourself, which is not now, which is not what we're talking about now, because now, Chazal say about the time of Galus and we're away from the land, HaShoichen itam betoch tumas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu resides with us in our tumah. It doesn't apply bichlal. Shulchan Aruch says, listen, it's not enough that we don't have Birkas Kohanim every single day. Chas v'sholom, don't stretch it and now say, even on Yom Tov you're not going to have because of this. And Bishvil Dimyonis, he's calling it imaginations. In other words, stay away from this. As the Chassam Sofer says, one who wants to be machmir, eino ela mina matmihim. He is acting in a very peculiar and strange way. Lemaise, the world is not makbid on this, even though we see so many Rishonim, Kadmoinim, Achroinim, Poiskim, the greatest Poiskim that bring us that Pele. You want to say something?
The way I saw the resistor not Israel.
The word is what?
Why not do the reasoning for saying that Ashkenazim don't do outside the resistor Chutz La'aretz? Why you would apply it all over the place, no? When there is no better Mikdash.
First of all, yes. Second of all, the thing itself that we don't say in Chutz La'aretz is very strange. As the Aruch HaShulchan says, this is a very strange thing. It's a wrong thing to do, but what can we do? That's what we do, and we stick with our minagim. There's only 13, I don't know if we discussed it in the past, only 13 different reasons that we find why Ashkenazim don't do it. And after those 13 reasons, it's still very strange. But, Soita, bring it to Beis HaMikdash and he has to drink the water. What bracha does she say on the water? Is this Birkas HaMitzvahs, Birkas HaNenim, Asher Kichanu BaMitzvoisav, and he commanded me to drink this water. Oh, She'akol. What bracha should she say when she drinks the water? Birkas HaMitzvahs or Birkas HaNenim? Definitely not Birkas HaNenim. Why not? And what if she's thirsty? She's exhausted from the trip. She came all the way to Beis HaMikdash. It's a hot day, middle of the summer. She benefits. What's that?
She's innocent as well, and it's a bracha is going to come.
What kind of a bracha? The biggest bracha.
Yes, I'm saying.
But he's talking about Birkas HaNenim, he's saying. Because he's not touching Birkas HaMitzvahs. Birkas HaNenim, he says he doesn't benefit. And what if she does? She'akol niyeh bitol? You don't want her to say? If she's getting Hana. Birkas HaMitzvahs? So now you wanted to say two brachos? Asher kisha mitzvot v'tzivanu lishtot et hamayim and she'akol. Can't be. It's bitter water. There's no bracha for bitter water. No Birkas HaNenim that's pashut. Taima Dekra agrees with you. What about Birkas HaMitzvahs? Shekichanu b'mitzvoisa v'tzivanu to explode. Lishto yistamayim. Is it such a mitzvah? Such a bracha? Says the Taima Dekra. Obviously she doesn't say. Why? If she did the wrong thing, she's going to explode. It's going to be a big punishment. There's no bracha over punishment. When a person is about to be executed for capital based in punishments, so the person who's about to be executed says a bracha. The executioner says a bracha. There's no bracha over punishment. What if she knows she's clean and she's going to get a tremendous bracha because of this? Chazal Prabhu says soita chafav. A slew of brachos. If until now she used to give birth only to baby girls, now she will have baby boys. If they were not so, now they're going to be amazing. A slew of brachos. So what bracha would she say? Says the time of the cross, something that started as a result of something bad, an aveira. Anyway, she did an aveira. She got secluded with a certain person that she wasn't allowed to. There's no bracha. Just like the Ravid says, why is there no bracha when a person returns a stolen item? Ve'eshiv esagzir has a mitzvah to return it. He has a mitzvah to return if he took interest, and yet, since it came about as a way of a aveira, there is no bracha, and therefore she's not going to say not birkas hanenin and not birkas hamitzvahs. Part of her punishment is tremendous shame. The Gemara says that when she's brought to Beis Hamikdash, is a mitzvah for a lot of people to come. And she gets so embarrassed. The Kohen uncovers her hair. She's such an embarrassment thing. Why? Why is that? A chiddush from my daughter. And she says, when her husband accused her of whatever he accused her, she went all over saying to everybody, my husband is crazy. He's Meshiggah. And in Mele, her husband was so embarrassed. She talked to a lot of people, anybody. Family, friends, relatives. She said to everybody, my husband is nuts. Look what she's blaming me with. He's crazy. And she caused embarrassment to her husband. Now she's going to be brought to Beis Hamikdash. The Kohen is going to have to uncover her hair. And a lot of people have to come, and she's going to be embarrassed in front of a lot of people. Busha, keneged busha, measure for measure. But what about her reward? And we said, Soita Chavav. Chazal say, if until now she only had baby girls, now she would have baby boys. What's the midah keneged midah in that? Achidish, this time from my son. And he says, it's gewaltig midah keneged midah. In Soita Chavav, the Gemara says, a lot of people come to see her embarrassment. What's the embarrassment? Exactly what happens? The pasuk says that the Kohen, para esro shaisha, takes her sheitel, her head covering, whatever, off. The Torah uses the language of priya. So now she's going to have baby boys, and she will be able to have the mitzvah of priya et a bris milah. Priya keneged priya. And in bris milah, a lot of people come. Corresponding to a lot of people that came to see her shame, a lot of people come now to celebrate her mitzvah and her simcha. She had to do priya to her hair. Now it's going to be priya for the sake of the mitzvah, and that's a midah keneged midah.
Did that whole thing actually take place? It says afterwards there was never a situation where the woman drank and exploded.
Later on, the Gemara says, Mishirabu hanoyafim, a lot of people committed adultery. It's cancelled. But before that, lichora, yeah. Aboy said, let's move to Shavuos. Gewaldige Shaila. A couple of years ago, before the Yontif of Shavuos, a mother of one of the little kids in the Gan sends the ganenet who runs the place 2 beautiful cheesecakes. She wraps them with napkins, she puts them on disposable plate, put them in a bag, and she gives us this, my hakara satov, for everything that you do for our kids. You are really amazing. We appreciate everything you do. Yasher koyach, yasher koyach. A lot of parents do that. You send something, a gift of some sort. And that year she got a ton of cheesecakes and all kinds of other things. She puts it in her fridge. A week, 2 weeks, and then she opens up a little, she says, not for us, there was so much food in the house. Yeah, she threw it out. She goes over her list, and she sees that this mother still didn't pay her for the last month. So she calls her up, she says, first of all, I want to thank you again. Beautiful cheesecakes that you sent us, thank you so much. What about the 700 shekels that you still owe? Tuition you didn't pay. Just, tuition? I'm surprised you're calling. Between those 2 cheesecakes, I put 700 shekels. Cash. If you said thank you very much, and you obviously enjoyed the cheesecakes, so you saw the money. She said, oh, I am so sorry, I'll tell you the truth. We had so much food in the house at that time. I kept it, and then it went bad. It's cheese after 2 weeks, so I threw it out. I never looked. And why would I look between cheesecakes? Who puts money between cheesecakes? And the mother says, well, that's not my fault. You did a pe'ulas hezek. You did something damaging. You took money, cash, he threw it to the garbage. It's your fault. It was in your house. It was in your hands. It was in your fridge. I did my part. I gave you the money, and it came into your house, into your hand. You held the money. Memele, I don't have to pay you again. The Ganenet says, listen, with all due respect, I really appreciate the cakes. It's very nice. But that's not the normal way of giving money to a Ganenet. Why would I think for a second there's money in the cheesecake? A loaded cheesecake. Shimon HaRabbi said, Dayani Mumchim. Does she have to pay or not? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'torah.
but this is something of value. So she should have said, this is cheesecake, and there is money in there.
Where do we find that a person who gives a gift of value has to say to the person, this is a gift of value?
I know there is a source. I don't know which one.
You're sending us to Shabbos Daf Yud. Where Kodesh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, go tell Klal Yisrael, I have a nice gift to give them. It's called Shabbos. Go tell them. Says the Gemara, from here you see that a person is giving a gift, and if he doesn't give a gift, can we learn from this Agada part of the Gemara that if you give a gift and you don't say to the person, so you're not Yotzei, and this is not a gift. This is a payment. I gave it to you in your hands, you held it, and you brought it into your house. What else am I supposed to do?
You know, it's the same thing. It's like the Bacher keeps telling his father, send me money, I need money. Keeps calling up, keeps telling him, the father doesn't send him money. Finally, the father says, if you would have put on tefillin, you would have found the money.
Right. But this is not money that he owes him. This is money that she owes, and she says, but I paid you.
Can you decouple something without das? Is that possible? Can you take ownership of something? Can you take something off
I
something?
put it in your house. Put it in your fridge.
In your house. But it's without das. She didn't know.
You have to have das in order to accept something? No. So you're saying she is exempt, she doesn't have to pay again?
Oh, not if it's a good thing. If it's a good thing, you can force it on me.
Zachin la'adam shelo b'fanav. This is not shelo b'fanav. This is in his house. I'm giving it. She held it in her hands. So you're saying she doesn't have to pay?
No, she has to pay because this is not normal.
It's not normal. She has to pay the entire 700?
You're saying the value of the cakes were 700 shekels. That's the thing?
No. She sends, on top of the cheesecake, she sends 700 shekels her monthly tuition. You want her to pay?
Yeah, she's...
700. No rachamim.
When someone steals something, maybe we bring it back, you have to tell the person has to know that they received it.
So she didn't say anything, so you have to pay again, another 700. Anyone wants to exempt her? Are they already together?
I do, but I'm not sure why.
Oh, so let's see a source why.
I would say she has to pay.
No, I'm looking for somebody who's going to go against everybody else. Who's not afraid, who's courageous to go against the grain and say, no, doesn't have to pay. Mishnah in Maseches Taos, Perek Zayin, according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Listen to a Mishnah, unbelievable. Hanashim gargeranios hen. What's a woman who's a gargeranit? What does that mean? She is suspected to uncover the stew that her friend is making, to find out what she's cooking there, and the Bartenu over there explains, and the Tosfos Yontif over there explains, Zolelot umisavos lemachal. They want to eat, and if it's going to be nice looking in her eyes, she's going to have it. In other words, women have this sort of attraction to food, and they can't hold back. Medrash Abba Bereshis, Parasha Mehmei Osei, Arba midos ne'emru benashim.
It's harder with cheesecake.
When you edit this shir afterwards, please cut this out, because if women are listening, we're going to be in trouble. Arba midos ne'emru benashim. Chazal say, not me. Gargeranios, they have this issue with food. Saitanios, they listen. When people talking about other people, they love listening. Atzlaniot, lazy. Kanaiyot, they're jealous when somebody else is having a good time, when he's benefiting from something. How do Chazal know this? They bring psukim to each one of these. How do Chazal know about the first one? Gargeranios, they love food. From Chava. Chava, what did she do? Vatikach mipirio vatocha. She took from the fruit that she's not allowed to, and she ate. Chava represents women. You see, women have this. In other words, it's not normal if you give it to a woman. She gave it to a woman, not to her husband. She gave it to a woman. A woman is expected, based on these sources, the Mishnah and the Medrash, to open the bag and to see. And when she's looking for the food and she's going to eat it, she's going to find the money. So it is a normal way. It wouldn't be normal if you're giving it to a man. Based on these sources, it is a normal. And therefore, she doesn't have to pay. That's what you wanted to say, right? But we're going to contradict this, and we're going to say this is not a good source. The Medrash doesn't say all women all the time in all locations. There will be women who have this. It doesn't mean all women. Definitely there will be women who get some food, and they're, whatever it is, satiated, there's other food in the house, they're not going for it. But more than that, this woman did something wrong. She gave it not in the normal way that a person gives back money. The Ganenet did something very normal. She kept it in the fridge. When she realized it's probably went bad, so she threw it out. How do we know this? Baba Kama Samech Beis Amud Aleph, the Tosfos says, if a person threw out a box of his friend, and his friend comes and says, what are you doing? There are pearls inside. Does he have to pay for the pearls? He doesn't have to pay. If it's not a normal place to store the pearls, you don't have to. You only have to pay for the box and what's normal to store inside, but not if you do something very, very strange and you didn't tell me ahead of time, I'm not responsible. Baba Kama, Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, we learn. Hakol tzrichim da'as ba'alim. Av Golden. Hakol tzrichim da'as ba'alim. The Gemara says, when you give something back, the owner has to know. When you give back money that one stole, he has to tell the person, I'm giving it back to you. When you give something which was deposited by you, you have to go back, you're a shomer. You go back to the owner and says, I'm giving back the money that I kept for you. Except a Shavas Aveda. You're turning a lost item, you don't need to tell the owner. But all the others, Hakol tzrichim da'as ba'alim. Shulchan Aruch, Choshen Mishpat, Simen Kuf Chaf, Seif Alef Shulchan Aruch says, when you borrow money and you give it back, what if the lender is standing over there and you throw it at him? If it didn't reach him and he didn't pick it up, you still owe. What if the guy says to you, throw it to me, throw it to me? Are you yoitze? You threw it to him. Lemaisi, he didn't pick it up. Am I still chayav to pay him back? Yes. Unless he says, throw it to me, and with that you will be exempt, without your patu. Then you did exactly what he told you. But just the fact he says, even if he says, throw it to me, it's meaningless. Comes the Aruch HaShulchan and says, you need two things. We needed to go to his possession and he needs to see it. So here we have one of the two. It went into the Ganenet's house, but she never saw it. She wasn't expected to see it. She did a very strange thing, this mother, and therefore she has to pay another 700. Abai said there's a bracha that we say every single day, rain or shine. But on Shavuos, when you're going to say the same bracha, and maybe it's more than one bracha, you have to have a different kavana than you have throughout the year. Not one, two brachos. Every Shavuos you have to introduce a new kavana. The rest of the year, same kavana every single morning. Morning, not evening. Every single morning, two brachos. Shavuos, a new kavana. What brachos are these? Birkas Kohanim, what kavana do you want me to have tomorrow morning? And by the way, how can I say Birkas Kohanim if I didn't sleep the whole night? Which is a whole big discussion. Can we or not? Oh, Hashunah says you can. What kavana would you like me to say?
Receiving the Torah new. It's a new.
But Rashi brings in Dvarim, Vayu kechadashim beinecha. Every single day you should view Divrei Torah as new. Not everybody together, Rabbi say?
I'm a rabbi.
What about Abba Salim?
Talks about Torah.
And what should I think tomorrow morning?
Yeah, maybe like it's on the Einam Ha'ora, that today's the day to make this bracha because it's on this.
And yesterday was not the day, the following day is not going to be the day for that bracha. Every single day we say this bracha. I definitely will accept it if you come with a source. Do you have to come with a source for this? It's too big of a chiddush to accept without a source. Shimon Arabo Yisai, not we believe. Reb Chaim Palagi has a son. His name is Reb Avraham Palagi. He wrote a sefer called Avois Harosh. Chiddush. Shabbos Peiches Amud Beis. The Gemara says the time of Ma'amad Har Sinai. Parcha nishmasan shel Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said the very first, the neshama flies out and everybody dies. So the Gemara says, wait a second. If after the first commandment they all died, so how did they hear the second one? Tchiyas HaMeisim. The whole big procedure, how it happened. Tchiyas HaMeisim. What's the schus that we had to have Tchiyas HaMeisim? The Avos Harosh, Reb Chaim Palagi son, brings a lot of midrashim from Chazal, from the Zohar, about the unbelievable miracles that took place at the time of Ma'amad Har Sinai. And the schus of Tchiyas HaMeisim was because of Yitzchak Avinu, who said, okay, shech me, Daddy, come on, shech. He was willing to be moiser nefesh and to die for Kodesh Baruch Hu, for his Torah. For that merit, we come back to life in the same place. Because the Midrashim say that the place of the Akedah, Har Moriah, was uprooted and was transferred to the Makom of Har Sinai at the time of Matan Torah. So it's for his merit, and it's in the same place. Gewaltig. When Klal Yisrael had Tchias HaMeisim, they said a bracha. Baruch Ata Hashem, Mechaye HaMeisim. And this is a bracha d'oraisa, bracha from the Torah. What do you mean? All brachos are from the Rabbanon, right? But this is mamish a literal bracha from the Torah. Because the Torah says, after they died, the Torah itself came to Kodesh Baruch Hu and said, Ma yehei alai, what's going to be with me? Who's going to fulfill me? The Kodesh Baruch Hu says, you're right, you know what? Tchias HaMeisim because of you. So that's a bracha min Torah. It's because of the Torah that we had Tchias HaMeisim. That's what the Zohar darshans, Torah's Hashem, Torah's Hashem, Temima, Torah's Hashem, Temima. Meshivas Nefesh doesn't mean Meshivas Nefesh. It restores our souls. It's right. That Torah itself restored our soul. It caused Tchias HaMeisim. So that's a bracha min Torah. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadi asks, Tchias HaMeisim min Torah minayin. And the Gemara says many different proofs. For example, Az Yashir Moshe. It really should say, Az Shar in the past tense. It says, Az Yashir, Mikam Tchias HaMeisim min Torah. Many proofs. Here's the best one. Tchias HaMeisim min Torah minayin. From here. Torah Hashem Meshivas Nefesh, it restored our souls and it caused Tchias HaMeisim. And therefore the Avos Arosh says, tomorrow morning, Shavuos, when we say two brachos, HaMachzir Neshamos Lifgari Meisim, and Baruch Hashem Mechaye HaMeisim, you have to have a kavana of our forefathers that stood in Har Sinai and said this bracha, and you have to think about all the nisim and niflos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did la'avosenu bayamim hazeh, bayamim hahem, uvazman hazeh, for the muchzus of Yitzchak Avinu. Tremendous Chiddush. The Sifri darshans a pasuk, Hashem misinei ba. And the Sifri says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went to all the nations and said, would you like to take my Torah? So, what's in it? Lo sirtzach. That's not for us. That's what we do. Lo signov. Go find someone else. And he went from every nation to nation. Lo sirtzach, lo signov, lo sina. Not for us. So he went to Klal Yisrael and we accepted Nasa v'Dishma. But wait a second. Lo sirtzach, lo signov, lo sinav is anyway something they're obligated. Seven mitzvahs me'meach. So it doesn't help them to say, I don't want it. Anyways, you're obligated. So that's what they reject. If they reject it for something else, for Chanukah, fine. They don't have to do Chanukah. They don't have to do Shatnez. But lo tirtzach, lo tirtzach, anyways, they're committed. So what does it mean?
Certain ones have parallels in Parshat Kedoshim, like Samad Adam Re'ach.
What about those Samad
So
Adam?
Goyim, they don't have a commandment of that, but Yidden do.
Lo sirtzach means don't take a knife.
Yeah,
But anyways, he's committed in that. He's obligated, don't tirtzach anyways. So what did you gain by saying, I'm not receiving the Torah? You received it. At least that part, 7 mitzvahs, you're obligated. Well, what did you gain?
Because what Jews command was include a lot of Zog as Shana and different things.
Gewaldig. A little incorrect, but gewaldig. Gezel Shena, there's no such thing. That's an invention of the great ethical masters. It doesn't exist in Chazal. People think Gezel Shena actually is a Chazal thing. There is no such thing. And if one does wake up someone, there is no translation called Gezel Shena. It's just not nice. And it goes on to V'ahavta l'recha kamoicha. You don't want somebody to wake you up, so why are you waking your friend up? But there is no such concept as Gezel Shena. But there are other things that are included in Lo Tigzol. But Mitzvah Mem Gimel Amud Beis. Hashol shelo midas, ave gazlan. You leave your item here on the table, you go away for 2 minutes, I take it for 3 seconds. 3 seconds without your permission. Shoyel shelo midas. Without the knowledge of the owners, I took something, I used it, I give it back, nothing happened to it. That Torah calls you a gazlan. There's all kinds of gzelas. Gnevas das. To us, it's just like gneva. And it's actually even worse. The Tosefta in Baba Kama, Perek Zayin, Halacha Gimel over there says, Shiva minei ganavim, and the worst is gnevas das. Goyim are not commanded in that, but we are. Lo sirtzach. But Metzian Unches Amud Beis. Amal b'bnei chaveiro barabim, if you embarrass someone publicly, it's keilu shoifech damim, you spilled his blood, you killed him. That's to us, not to them. They're not committed, and don't embarrass someone. Lo yisinaf, don't commit adultery. You know what it's for us? Sanhedrin Pei Aleph Amud Aleph. You have a grocery store in a small town, and somebody opens up another grocery store right next door to you, trespassing. The Gemara learns a pasuk from Yechezkel on that. Asher time es eshet re'ehu, he defiled his friend's wife. It's called adultery. Goyim are not commanded on that. So Mimele, all the abizraihu, all the accessories, subsidiaries of lo sirtzach, lo signov, lo sinav, avodah zara. Avodah zara is not for us. That's right. Avodah zara, everybody is obligated, goyim as well. But for us, avodah zara is something else as well. Shabbos daf kufei amud beis. Kol hakoyes, if you get angry, you get upset at someone, ke'ilu oved avodah zara. The Gemara is willing to equate it to avodah zara, and rightfully so. Why does a person get upset? He starts breaking things. Why does he get upset? Things didn't work out the way I planned it. Well, what are you in control? You think you're running the world? In other words, you're denying the existence of Ribbon Shel Olam. A person who worships idols also denies the existence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so what's the difference? So in some respect, it's similar to Oved Avodah Zarah. These are things that the Goyim are not commanded on. So we made it when they said, Lo tirtzach, lo tigno, lo tinaf, they're willing as if to accept the 7 mitzvahs, but not with all the accessories, not with the abizrayu, and therefore they said no to the Torah. Or, Sanhedrin, Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, the Gemara has a discussion, 2 opinions. If a ben Noach is commanded on Kiddush Hashem, do you have to die for Kiddush Hashem? We have to. But a ben Noach, a goy, somebody comes to him and puts a gun to his head, bow down to this statue. Does he have to say, no, kill me and I won't do it? 2 opinions. Lemaise, the Rambam rules that he doesn't. He doesn't have to give his nefesh. He doesn't have to die for it. We do. So when they said, no, lo sirtzach, it's not for me, they meant because I don't want to be chayav in Kiddush Hashem when right now I'm not. And that's why they rejected the Torah. You did so good before on the Halachic Shaila. I'll ask you another one. Is a darshan that comes before Shavuos to the shul, and he gives a very, very inspirational shir, very mechazek. People love to come. They charge money for it. Reuven doesn't have money, but he's very excited about hearing this darshan. So it's a big complex, this shul, and there's one room that if you sit there, nobody will know, but you're going to hear the entire darshan. So he goes inside, he doesn't pay $1, everybody else did. He goes into that little tiny room that nobody knows about, and he can hear everything. Is that okay, or is it considered gezel? The darshan wants to be paid. The organizers charge everybody who comes in. But you found a nice way. Is it called gzela?
No.
It's not called gzela.
Because when they're charging, what are they charging for? They're charging for, you can't charge to teach Torah. Therefore they're charging for the expenses. He's not using the room, not taking the seats in the place.
You can never charge for Torah?
Depends.
On?
If a person has a profession, he could have been doing something else in that
Schar batala. No.
But for the people who are...
So if it's schar batala for the darshan, so why is it not called stealing if you don't pay?
He wouldn't have wanted, he didn't want to pay. He didn't make him lose.
What if everybody would do the same and this darshan would stand and speak to himself or to 2 people?
We also have a source from the Gemara.
What source? Gevaldik. Yuma Lamedei Amud Beis, the famous Maaseh with Hillel, who was very, very poor. And the guard at the entrance to Beis HaMikdash would charge $50, but Hillel would only earn $1 a day. So $50 he gave to his wife to run the house, and he took the $50, half of what he made per day. And that's what he used to pay. But there was once, Friday, didn't have enough money, and he wanted to hear Divrei Elokim Chaim of Shmaya and Avtalion. He went on top of the roof, on the chimney, and he's listening, and the snow came down. It's Kufas Tevis, very, very cold night. We know the whole Maaseh. Why is that? Okay, you give us a source, but I'm going to ask on that source. Why is that not stealing? Shmaya and Avtalion are charging. You can't assume that the guard is standing there and nobody knows about him. Mistama, it was under the instruction, directives of Shmaya and Avtalion. So they're charging money to give a shir. So how can Hillel go in sneaky way on top of the chimney there? Who gave him permission?
You had to pay if you entered. You never entered.
Good. So some say, in fact, they're makpid if you want to use the padded chairs and you want to enjoy the lighting here and the AC, so you have to pay. If you're outside, nobody's makpid on you. Good. Some say differently. Some say the Maharsha says they didn't take money for the guard. I'm sorry, they didn't take money for paint for the Torah. They paid money for the guard. Where was their shuls? The Bate Medrash was in the field. It's dangerous. You need a guard there. It's not for paying Shmai and Avtalion. Shmai and Avtalion don't take money, but we need to pay the guard. Mimele, since it's in the field, you can do it. Or the Ben Yoyada says we need the guard here for the nighttime. Nighttime people come in and out. You can't leave the place at night. Who knows who's going to be there? Maziki and all kinds of other. At nighttime you have to have a guard, and therefore there was a guard, and they paid the guard. Rabban Gamliel in Bochos Daf Chafres announced, anyone who's ein torche kevaro, we only want quality talmidim. We don't want anybody. Mimele, it wasn't for charging for the Talmud Torah. It was just to prevent those people who we don't want inside. Mimele, it's not a problem because we're not paying for the actual learning Torah, and it's not called stealing. Also, the Shilas David is a Chiddush. What we learn in the Gemara in Nedarim, that you're not allowed to charge for Divrei Torah, he says that's true, for Divrei Torah. But for Pilpul, you're allowed to. If Shmaya and Avtalion are charging money for Pilpul, they're allowed to. Where do you get it from? The Gemara in Nedarim Lamed Ches Amud Aleph says, that Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ma ani bechinam, afatem bechinam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught me for free, I'm going to teach you for free, and when you teach Torah, teach it for free. But the Gemara over there says that Pilpul, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't teach Pilpul to Moshe Rabbeinu. That's Moshe Rabbeinu nahag toivas ayin. He was very kind to us, and he gave us Pilpul, but that's not something that we learned from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that taught him for free. For that, you can charge. So it could be that Shmai and Avtalion were teaching Pilpul in Beis HaMedrash, and Mimele, for Pilpul, you're allowed to charge money, that's what they're charging. Also, Yoredei Reish Mem Vav Seifei, the Shulchan Aruch writes, Torah shebechsav, you're allowed to take money for. Those places, Shulchan Aruch says, that they charge for the written transmission, you're allowed to charge for it. Torah shebe'al peh, all tradition, you're not allowed to. So it could be that Shmai and Avtalion are charging for Torah shebechsav, and therefore they're allowed to. Or schar batala. Good. But if they are charging for the actual learning, who gives Hillel permission to as if steal? So it could be a couple of mahalachim how to figure that one out. Choshen Mishpat Siman Reish Tzadi Beis, the Shach over there writes, if I deposit a book in your hands, I'm coming back next week, can you look inside and start copying from that book? I didn't give you permission. Not only did I not give you permission, I'm makpid. You know that I don't like people using my book. Are you allowed to open the book and to copy things? No. So the Shach says you're allowed to, if the book doesn't get spoiled. If you're not going to wreck it, you're going to be careful with it, it's no problem. So you have to assume that it's the same thing will apply. If I can copy Divrei Torah from your book, I can also listen to Divrei Torah coming from your mouth. Even if you're makpid, by ruining anything for you, by listening to your Divrei Torah behind in that small room on the chimney or wherever I am. And the Emek Bracha, Emek Halacha says a tremendous thing. He brings a Tosefta. Listen to a Tosefta in Baba Kama Perek Zayin, Halacha Yud Gimel, and the Shach brings it as well. Hamisganev achar chaveiro, vehoylech veshoyne pirko. This is exactly what Hillel did. It's exactly our case. One who goes behind his friend, he sneaks around and he listens to Divrei Torah without his friend's knowledge. Afal pi shenikra ganav, he will be called a ganav. Zoiche le'atzmo. He's allowed to keep that Divrei Torah. Shene'emar, it's a pasuk in Mishneh. In Mishlei, lo yavozu laganav, don't disgrace a ganav, ki yignov lemale nafshoi ki yirav. It's a big difference. If Gil Bates, that's the Jewish name of Gil Bates after he converts, right? It sounds a little more Jewish. If Gil Bates goes and steals, that's disgusting. But a person who doesn't have what to eat, when he steals, we don't give any permission to do that. It's still gneva. But lo yavuzu laganav. How much more so when the nefesh is hungry, when you want to hear Divrei Torah. So he's called a ganav. But continues to Tosefta, sof davar, you know what's going to happen to this guy at the end? Shemismane parnas al tzibur, and he's going to teach Torah. Pilei ploim. So in this statement, they were actually alluding to Hillel HaZaken. That's exactly what happened to him. The Gemara says in Psachim Samech Vav that he was appointed to be Hillel HaZaken with the whole Ma'aseh with Bnei Beseira. So he stole, as if Divrei Torah, but listening on that chimney to Shmaya and Avtalion, and he became a person who actually teaches Torah. Comes the Magen Avram, in his sefer called Zayit Ra'anan. He has a Perush on Yalkut Shimoni, and he says it's a midah keneged midah. You steal Divrei Torah, you don't pay for Divrei Torah, then they're going to appoint you to deliver Divrei Torah to others, and imele yeshalem shiv'atayim. Everybody's going to be taking away from you, as if, without paying, because you don't charge for Divrei Torah. You stole Divrei Torah, you're going to be delivering to the Rabbim Divrei Torah. Or, again, like you said before, they weren't makpid that somebody is going to hear the Divrei Torah. They were makpid, if you want to come in, you have to pay. Because coming in and seeing the face of the Rebbe is different than being on the chimney or being in the side room. Coming in and enjoying the air conditioning or the heating, the light, being together with all the Chevra is different. If you want to benefit from inside, from how we maintain the place, then you have to pay. But if you go on the chimney, that's your problem.
Question on books or tapes or things like this. I paid for a certain specific tape of Torah. Can I give it to someone? Can I make someone copy it? Can I make a photocopy of something? I know the article says it's absolutely forbidden to copy and so on.
If you copy a half a page, a little vote, 2 sentences, that's not a problem. If you're trying to make business with it, that's the problem. But one who sells you an item is allowed to make a condition. I'm selling these, and usually on the tapes, he used to say, Mr. it says the same thing for copyrights. I'm allowed to make a condition. And when you buy it from me, it's al das that. You're buying it with that condition built in. So I'm allowed to say, I'm not letting you play this on Shabbos and Yom Tov, and it catches. I'm allowed to say you can't use it in other, but I can't tell you, you can only use it in one computer of yours, but you can't take it to the other room, that you can. But to do business, to sell to somebody else, because I'm interested in other people buying my items as well.
Lending someone else, this guy would benefit from this, make a copy of this.
Yeah, but as long as it's not used for business. Aboy said we're getting closer to the summer. Shmiras ha'einayim. Is Shmiras ha'einayim something that everybody has to be involved with, young and old, even greatest Talmidei Chachamim? We're talking about Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zatzal type of we're talking about Gadol Hador. He also has to be careful with Shmiras ha'einayim, or this is only something suitable for people who didn't reach that madrega yet. What's that? Everyone. And your source is? Normal people. But he's not going to stray after it, but he needs extra shmira and extra protection like everybody else. I'm talking about a person like Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Maybe it's Midas Chasidus, big tzaddik. Chazal say in Bachos Kaftes, Al tamin be'atzmecha ad yom moscha. Don't believe in yourself until the day you die. Because of Yochanan, who served as a Kohen Gadol for 80 years. But then he went sour and he said, criticize, that's the way to go. Maybe it's Avodah Zarah. Who says Shmiras ha'einayim? I'm asking about Shmiras ha'einayim specifically. And it could be the reason I'm asking is because we're standing one day before the Yom Tov of Shavuos. Maybe in all other areas, not in Shmiras ha'einayim. Wrote many stories. One of them is called Simchas HaRegel, on Rus. The pasuk says that when Boaz was talking to the koitzrim, young men working in the field, he was telling them, Hashem imachem, Hashem's with you. Why did he say Hashem imachem? Why not say, have a great day, enjoy your work. I wish you a lot of atzlach on everything you do. Hashem imachem. Says the Chidam. Boaz saw a beautiful, gorgeous lady called Rus. He says to the young guys, you're going to need a lot of siyata dishmai with Shmiras ha'einayim. It's going to be very difficult. Because Chazal Darshan, he brings this from Igeres Shmuel. That's Reb Shmuel Yozida, a Talmid of V'Arizal. Chazal Darshan about Rus, and anybody who would see her would have a problem. Vayikir, Mikir Ekeri. Mimeli, he said to them, you're going to have a problem. Hashem machem, Hashem should be with you. Watch yourselves and daven for siyata dishmaya. How do they respond? Yevarechecha Hashem. You think it's only our problem? You think because you're Godel Ador, you don't have a problem with Shmiras Einein. You should also be careful. You should also watch it. You should also daven for Siyata Dishmaya. How old was he? How old was he? Yalkut Shimoni in Vayechi, Remez Kuf Nun Vav, says Boaz was more than 400 years at that time. According to Rus Rabbah and Parsha Vav Ois Beis, he was a youngster, only 80 years old. But in any event, he's not a little kid. And the koitzrim working in the field say to him, you think we have a problem, and you don't, huh? It doesn't make a difference who you are. Young and old, ignoramus, and the greatest rabbi. Everybody is together in this, in the same boat, and we all need to fight, to combat the Yetzer Hara, in Mitzvah Hashem to succeed by only davening to Ribbon Shalom for a lot of Siyata Dishmaya. So Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to tackle the Shas. Some people will do tonight the Tikkun, some people will learn, but everybody's going to learn Shas throughout the year. Some riddles about the Shas. Can you ask a person, I want to test you on the entire Shas. Can you test a person on the entire Shas? Where does it say in Chazal, you're not allowed to test a person on the entire Shas? Also, you're not allowed to test a person on the entire Shas. You don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, because the bottom you have to go through Bechinas.
Not on the entire Shas. On one tractate, on one chapter.
We had this story of the Bakur and the Rav said, I think, that the story of the Bakur that knew of Shas and the Rav says he doesn't know how for, because otherwise it would have been he would have finished his tikkun, he would have to make him alive. He says, no, he only knows half of it. It was a story like that.
Don't recall? Shabbos. The Gemara says in Daf Gimel Amud Beis, Ki kai Rabbi behai masechta, lo tishale b'masechta achita. When Rabbi is teaching one masechet, don't teach him from a different masechet. Don't ask him questions from a different masechet. You're learning now, tractate, whatever it is. Don't start tackling him, the Rebbe, from different masechtos. You see, you're not allowed to test on the entire Shas. After asking this, now I'm going to ask you the reverse. Where do you see in Chazal that you're allowed to ask a person anywhere, no matter what, in the entire Shas? No problem at all.
It only says if he's learning that, don't ask him something else.
I mean, in the middle, if you meet him in the middle of the street, you can ask him anything. You have a source? Shabbos Kuf Yud Amud Aleph. Chazal ask, Ezehu Talmid Chochem? What's the definition of a Talmid Chochem? A person that you ask at Dvar Halacha, no matter where, Bechol Makom, and he says it, Afilu B'Masechta Kala, that nobody Lichoira learns. You see that you can ask him on anything, and he will know. So you're able to. So similarly, this is a contradiction between the two sources. Some Sofer points this out. Gilyonei Hashas points it out, and he says, it's not a contradiction. When the Rebbe is teaching you one thing, it could be that he's so focused, and you're going to ask him something else, he won't be able to concentrate. Wait a few minutes until he finishes that tractate, until he finishes that topic that you're dealing with, and then ask him on anything that you want, and therefore there's no contradiction. Great. What do we find in Chazal? That in order to see if a person owns the Shas, it's only by testing him. When Kiddushin? You're at Mem Tes Amud Beis. I want 19 pages before that in Daf Lamed Amud Aleph. Veshinantam. What's Veshinantam? As I'll say, Sheyu Divrei Torah Mechudadin Beficha. Sheim Yishalcha Adam, that if somebody comes and asks you, Al Tigamkim, not sure. Ela Emor Lo Miyad. Which means you can be tested. You have to be ready for a test at all times. Where does Rashi testify on one of his rebbes that was an expert in the entire Shas? Beitza, Chavdalad Amud Beis. Rashi says, came to me a letter from Gramaish that an old man was there, Yoshev Yeshiva from Rome, and his name is Rabbi Clonimus Ubaki Bechol Talmud, and he was expert. He knew the entire Talmud. I always say a strange question. Shavuos, we accept the Torah. Who else, other than us, believes in the Torah, does everything Chachamim say, and he even observes all the Torah shebe'al peh? Isn't that Jewish? We accepted, no questions asked. Naaseh v'nishma, great. Someone who's not Jewish accepted the Torah, it does everything, observes even divrei Torah shebe'al peh, believes in it, not Jewish. Can it be?
It's forbidden for a non-Jew do all the time?
That makes my question even stranger.
Human. Human.
Humor.
Are they human?
Do you know non-humans that accepted the Torah? I'd like to know who they are. Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't have to accept the Torah because he's the one producing it.
He keeps his own mitzvahs.
Kodesh Baruch Hu keeps the mitzvahs.
The Avot were not. No.
The Avos are not around now. The Avos are not around now.
So they're around.
Around now?
Why not?
Someone around now?
2026.
Tafshin Peivav. Chidish from the land of Chidushim, from the Or Zarua. Or Zarua is one of the Rishonim. And he brings from his Rebbe, Rebbe Yehuda HaChosid, who used to say, the Shadim, the demons, believe in the Torah, and they do everything Chachamim said, and they even observe Torah Shebe'al Peh. So the Or Zarua says, so they asked him, Yehuda HaChosid, but Rebbe, we see many times, different stories in the Gemara, the Shadim harm people, and they do things against what the Torah says. And he answered, yes. They accepted the Torah on a condition that if someone does something wrong or hurts them, they will harm him. Chidish Poirdik. By the way, are there any demons? Are there any demons? Do they exist? Is it real? So it depends who you ask. Shulchan Aruch in Yoredea. What is it doing in Yoredea? Simen Kuf Ayin Tes Seif Vav. Mi sheneshacho akrav. A person who was bitten by a scorpion. Mutar lilchosh alav. You're allowed to say all kinds of magic words. Say psukim, there's certain lachash. Even on Shabbos. Now suddenly the Shulchan Aruch writes something. Ve'af al pi she'en hadavar mo'il klum. Even though it's meaningless, it doesn't do anything. But you're allowed to. So if it doesn't do anything, why are you telling me to do it? Ho'ilu mesukanu, the guy is about to die, it's dangerous. Hitiru, kedei shelo titaref da'ato alav. If the person is lying there and he says, doctors gave up hope, do this lachash for me, say these things. No, I'm not allowed to. I'm going to die. Titaref is going to lose it. It's going to go crazy. It's going to be dangerous for him even more than the danger that he is in now. And therefore Shulchan Aruch says you're allowed to, even on Shabbos. Comes the Biur HaGra. And he says, what is this line that Shulchan Aruch wrote? Af al pi she'en mo'il hadavar klum. This doesn't help at all. The Biur HaGra starts yelling. If you look at that page, he's yelling at you. The Biur HaGra says, this line was copied from the Rambam. Because the Rambam didn't believe at all that Shadim exists. The Rambam wrote it in his Perush HaMishnah, in the 4th chapter of Avodas Koichavim, Avodas Zara. Says the Biur HaGra, the Kol Habayim Acharav. And all those who came after the Rambam and saw what the Rambam wrote, Chalku alav, they all disagree. Because we have so many places in the Gemara when we have this type of halachash. So what caused the Rambam to say this is a joke? Because he was drawn after the cursed philosophy. Ha-philosophia ha'arura. And therefore he wrote that everything, the Shadim and the lachash and the kmios, it's all sheker. Continues the Biur HaGra and says, Aval kvar hiku oto al kod kodo, but they already took hammers and they banged it on his head. Because the Gra brings many sources in the Gemara. Shabbos Pei Aleph Amud Beis, Chulin Kufei Amud Beis, Bechoires Ches Amud Beis, Sanhedrin Tzadi Alei Hey Amud Aleph, and so many places, Chulin Taf Zayin Amud Beis. With the Gemara records so many Maisim Mushadim. What, you want to tell me? The whole thing never happened? But it's because of the philosophia that caused him to say that everything is B'derech Helitzi, as if it's joking. I'm not from them, says the Biur HaGra. I stay away from them. Kol hadvarim kipshatan. Whatever you see in the Gemara is literal. Ela sheyesh pnimius. This is also an internal message. Pnimius, that they're trying to tell you something. However, not the pnimius of Baalei HaPhilosophia that they throw into the garbage. Chas v'sholom. Ela shel Baalei HaEmes. You can hear him, how loud he is yelling. But big chiddush. Abu Yisai, tonight, in Mitzvah Hashem, we're all going to stay up the whole night. Why? That's the right thing to do. But the Mishnah Berurah at the beginning of Taf Tzadi Dalet, the beginning of the Siman brings from the Arizal. The Arizal has a promise. Anyone who will stay up the whole night and learn Torah will not die that year and will not be harmed. It's good night. So Reuven heard this Mishnah Bura in a shir just before Shavuos, and he said, no matter what, this year I'm doing it. I'm going to stay up the whole night. He was planning to catch a little nap, but he wasn't able to. An hour before Shavuos, he feels so tired, it's not shayach. But he wants his gula. So what did he do? He called his friend Shimon and said, Shimon, you got to help me out. I want to hire you. You're going to be my shomer. Come to the best Medrash at 10 p.m. tonight. Sit right next to me. If you see me starting, wake me up. Shimon says, I'd love to, especially this part. They agreed on the payment. Gebaldik. 10 p.m., Shimon comes to Beis HaMedrash, Reuven comes to Beis HaMedrash. He sits and he starts learning. And he's learning. 10:35, his eyes become a little heavy, and Shimon goes into action, wakes up, Baruch Hashem. Thank you so much. Thank you. This goes on, and 5-6 times throughout the night, this happened. Reuven is collapsing. He's so tired. But Shimon is there for a reason. He knows exactly what he was hired for. When he wakes him up, Baruch Hashem. And Reuven is learning like there's no tomorrow. 4 a.m., half an hour before Alois HaShachar. Shimon, the shomer's eyes become very heavy. And slowly but surely they close, and his head drops. And 2 minutes away, Reuven's eyes close, and he falls asleep until they woke him up for Shachris. Ad kan Akofe Aleph. Akofe Beis. Motzei Yontif. Shimon comes to Reuven and says, Reuven, you have to pay. He says, I understand you're not going to pay me the entire sum that we agreed on. But Lemaisa, you learned, and only because of me, you learned 6 hours in the middle of the night of Shavuos. It's worth. I hired you to watch over me the entire night. I want the Sgula of the Ari, I'm not going to get. I explained to you that I want the Sgula of the Ari. He says, yeah, but because of me, you learned 6 hours. And that's meaningless to you? Of course you have to pay. Not the entire sum, but you have to pay. Reuven says, I owe you nothing. Shimon HaRabbi Yisai, Dayani Mumchim. Does he have to pay or not? If he does, how much should he pay? That wasn't the deal. So you're saying learning 6 hours, almost finishing the whole night, is worthless. At 10:35 was the first time that he fell asleep.
That wasn't the deal.
It wasn't a deal.
That's what nobody
No rachamim whatsoever. He called and says, I heard about the school. You heard about the school of the Ariza? This year I'm going to do it. You're going to help me, right? That was that night. But Lemaisa, you learned because of me 6 hours. You don't care about that. Anybody wants to pay him something?
You pay the amount of time that he was up.
So you take 6.5 hours, you break him up, and the amount of hours that he did work, he should be paid. But he hired him for the Sgula. He didn't get the Sgula because of him.
He didn't get the school.
Did he know he was hired for the school?
Sure. But he wasn't negligent, he was bogus. The minister of sleep came and took over him.
You pay next to us if he's alive.
Next to us, he's moving to a different town, he's not going to be there. You want to say B'derech Grama, he actually is a Rotzeach. Oh, we're not going to say that. There's many other Sgulas that he can do to keep him around. One of them is called Tzedakah, Tatzil Mimavis. And he's not supposed to die, it's just an extra added benefit, added bonus to stay around. Before you answer me this question, you should ask a different question. Is this allowed? Are you allowed to hire a person? What about Schar Shabbos? You're making him work on Yontif for you? He's not doing any preparations before or after. You're hiring him to work in the middle of Yontif for 6 hours, 6.5 hours. Is this allowed?
Well, yeah, because the fact that you say that maybe he slept beforehand.
He didn't. He called him an hour before Yontif when he saw that he didn't catch an nap. He says, listen, Shimon, you're going to come to Shul tonight? I want to hire you. Sit next to me. You make sure that I'm up.
He could prepare before Shabbos.
But he didn't.
To rest. No.
The Shomer?
Yeah.
But the Shomer didn't. He only called to hire him an hour before. There's no time to rest. And he didn't. Remember, he didn't do any preparation before Shabbos. It's only Schar Shabbos.
We're learning Gemara, right? We're learning Gemara together. And there's principle in Gemara, Mixas Kakula. So, since it's the night to start waiting Torah Shapapeh, we can say, according to that principle, he learned the whole time, Mixas Kakula.
So the Sgula of the Ari will apply. If Mixas Kechuloi, so I can learn 5 minutes and say to the Ari, don't forget you owe me one. So you don't have to stay up the whole night. Just do Mixas.
I like it.
Right? Not so sure about that. Are you allowed to hire him, Bichlal?
Who said the Shabbos?
Yontif Shabbos. You're making a person work for you on Yontif. It's not work. He has to stay alert 6.5 hours, and to do this, it's very hard to do this so many times. Limud Torah. And therefore it's a Dvar Mitzvah, and we can go with the opinions in Orach Chaim, Shin Vav. Seif Hey, Yesh Matirim, some allow for a Dvar Mitzvah. This will be called for Dvar Mitzvah, so the person can sit and learn. However, the Mishnah Berurah does say over there in Seif Kotan Chav Gimel, Eino Roe Siman Bracha from that money. So you're allowed to find, that's his problem. You're allowed to, he's allowed to take the money, but he probably is not going to see so much, this money is not going to yield further money. Fine.
He also
I can be a waiter next time.
he also has a chiyuv to stay up all night.
A chiyuv he doesn't have.
So he also,
Rebbe Yosef didn't stay up the whole night. It's a good thing to do. It's fantastic. If you can, not everybody can. If it's going to destroy your davening in the morning, you have to think if it's a good idea. If it's going to become, you're going to become sick because of that, you have to think twice. It's gula v'yari if you want to get givaldik. It's the right thing to do. It's not a chiyuv, far from it. Lemaise. He's allowed to hire him to work for him on Yontif. Dvar mitzvah, fine. Does he have to pay him or not? So the Tumim, the Birkas Kohanim, in Simin Samech Vav, Seif Ches, and the Pesach Tshuva brings it in Shin Aleph and Orach Chaim, Seif Kotan Beis. He discusses a guard who was hired to watch over the merchandise for 10 days. And he did a great job for 9 days. But on the 10th he was negligent, something happened, and it was all stolen. Does he have to pay him or not? No. Says the Tumim. If you were hired for the job for 10 days, and you didn't do 10 days, you only did 9 days, you don't get $1. If you were hired per day, you have to pay him for the first 9 days. Here, he didn't hire him per hour, not per minute. He hired him for the job. The job is, I want the Sgula of the Arizal. And because of him, he didn't get the Sgula of the Arizal. Mimele, he doesn't have to pay him $1. But it'd be the right thing for him to pay him something. Why? Imagine you hire someone to help you gain $1 billion. In the last 5 minutes, the person, something happened, some kind of an honest, and he only got $900,000. You're not going to compensate him? The Sgula of the Arizal is $1 billion. You learn Torah out of tsar is worth 100 times more. You learn Torah, Shavuos night, 6 hours straight. It was difficult for you. You're falling asleep. It's worth at least $900,000, but at least. I should give him something. Al Pidin is a worker. He doesn't have to pay him $1 because he was hired for the job, which he did not do. But Lemaise, it be the right thing. It makes sense that he should compensate him something for what he did do.
how much?
Something. I don't know. He should think how much Torah is worth to him. 6 hours in the middle of Shavuos that he probably never did in his life. How much is worth to him? You should give him something. Aboy said, let's finish off with something for Adoneinu David. Last week we said something about the cup of David HaMelech. Today, a different take. The same David HaMelech, the same cup, but a totally different mahalach. We'll just mention the Gemara we mentioned last week. Psachim Daf Kufi Tesamud Beis, the Gemara says, Le'asid Lavo, in the future there will be a seuda for the tzaddikim. At the end of the seuda, Kodesh Baruch Hu will offer a kos shel bracha to Avraham Avinu, please bench. And Avraham Avinu says, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I can't. Why? I had a nishmal coming out of me. It's not shaykh. I can't. I'm not fitting for you. Yitzhak, can you bench for us? Nope. Why not? Esav came for me, not shaykh. Yaakov, can you do it? Nope. I married 2 sisters. Later on in life, there will be a Torah. The Torah will come and says, you're not allowed to do this. It's not shaykh. I can't do it. Moshe, can you bench for us? I can't. Why not? I wasn't zocher to come into Eretz Yisrael. No b'chayai v'lo b'moisi. Rashbam says, not even my bones. Yeshua, can you do it? I wasn't zocher. What's wrong? Why? I wasn't zocher to have a son. I can't do it. So Kodesh Baruch Hu turns to David HaMelech. David HaMelech, can you bench for us? He says, sure, why not? Ani avarich, li na'el avarich. I'll do it, sure. It's only right that I should do it. And he says, bring it to me. And he does a kos shel bracha and does zimun. And the question is, how in the world can you understand it? Avos ha'olam, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe and Yeshua, they're not on that level. They found some kind of a problem with them. But David HaMelech, there's no problem. Why is it? Comes the Meir Einei Chachomim, the Ostrov Rebbe, with the following calculation that will give you dessert for 3 days straight. This is a dietetic vote. It's calorie free, but it's so sweet. It's sweeter than honey. Brachos Daf Mem, we learn what was the sin of Adam HaRishon. 3 opinions in the Gemara, whether it was fig, or wheat, or, Reb Meir's opinion, it was geffen. He drank wine. That was the problem. Yalkut Shimoni, in Bereshis Remez Mem Aleph, we learned that David HaMelech was only supposed to live for 3 hours. Adam Harishon saw the high-level neshama of David HaMelech, only allocated 3 hours for life, and he says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's it? 3 hours, such a high-level neshama, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, yeah, that's what I decided. So Adam Harishon says, you know what, I'm going to donate 70 years of my life. And he was supposed to live for 1,000 years because B'yom ochlecha menu mos tamus, the day you eat, you will die. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu's day is 1,000 years. Shneimar ki 1,000 shanim b'einecha ki yam esmol. So he was supposed to live 1,000 years. Lemais, he only lived for 930 years because he donated 7 years of his life to David HaMelech, Gevaldik. Adam Harishon said, I want him to be around, this man. He's going to write Sefer Tehillim. And this will be my tikkun. Yezechai umezamer lefanecha. Shneimar, ine basi b'megilas sefer kasuv alai. Pasuk in Tehillim, Perek Mem, Pasuk Ches. I want to have a chelek in the Tehillim that David HaMelech will author. David HaMelech, his whole life is only because Adam Harishon. He has to do a tikkun to Adam Harishon. The tikkun is done when he does Kiddush Friday night. Why Davka that will cause a tikkun? Or Chaim HaKodesh brings in Vayikra Yutes in Kiddush in Pasuk Chavav that the problem of Adam Harishon was that he rushed to have wine. If he would have waited just a little more, he would be able to do Kiddush on that wine. But he drank on the 10th hour, it's on Hedin Lamed Ches Amud Beis, the 10th hour on Friday. If he would wait 3 more hours, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and now kicks in Shabbos, he can do Kiddush and wine. But he rushed. And that's why his descendants, us, get a mitzvah called Orla. You can't have the fruits for the first 3 years, corresponding to, he rushed and he didn't wait 3 hours, we have to wait 3 years to have the fruits. Givaldi. So it makes sense why the Kiddush on Friday night is a tikkun for him, because he didn't reach that Kiddush, he was kicked out of Gan Eden. So only the Friday night Kiddush is what fixes Adam Harishon. You hold a Kiddush cup, your name is David HaMelech, and you do a tikkun. When we say a cup, and we don't say the size, what's the size of a cup? Revis. So in a month is 4 Shabbosim. Revis is a quarter of a lug. So in a month, you have 1 lug. A quarter times 4, you have 1 lug over a month. So in a year, that's 12 months, 12 lugim. Every month is 1 lug. So in a year, 12 months, 12 lugim. How many years does David HaMelech live? 70. But we got to take off 13, because the first 13 years of his life, when he's not bar mitzvah, he's not obligated to do Kiddush. He can't do a tikkun with something you're not obligated with. So 70 minus 13, 57 years. 57 years times 12 lugim per year is 684 lugim. The Medrash says that original geffen that Adam Harishon sinned with had taf kuf chaf vav, 926 lugim. We're short. You need a tikkun for 926 lugim. David HaMelech, with all his kiddushim every Friday night, only reaches 684 because our calculation was not correct. What about leap years? It's not right to say 12 months per year. Sometimes there's 13. How often do we have a leap year? Every cycle of 19 years has 7 leap years. If you live for 57 years, how many cycles of 19 years do you have? 3. 19 times 3 is 57. So in these 7 years, you have an added 1 lug. 1 month extra is 1 lug. 7 times 3 cycles is 21 added lugim that you have to add to the 684 that we found. 684 plus 21 new lugim are, what's together? 705. We're still short. We got to reach 926 lugim, and we're stuck at 705. How much are we missing? 926 minus 705. How many are we missing? 221? 705 to 926. 221? Now you understand the Gemara in Yuma Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph Omer Abaye. Shma mina. Kasa de David le'alma de'asi, says Abaye, the cup of David HaMelech, le'alma de'asi, and that's a reference to the Seudah that we're talking about, will contain machzik, masan ve'esrin chad luga, 221 lugim. How does Abaye know this? Shenema, dishanta v'Hashem en roishi koisi, revaya, reish vav, yud, hey, begimatria, 221, mimele, that's why David HaMelech says, bring it on, I'll take it, because now, I complete the tikkun that my whole life, I'm only here because of this man, and now I complete the tikkun of Etz Hadas, and that's why David HaMelech is the one to say, I will Ben Shemitz Hashem Shenizke Lechach Bekarov to see it. You should all have a wonderful Shemitz Hashem Yontif of Kabbalah Satorah and good Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.